Wanna know how to do the 6 zoom transition? I can't even gatekeep, guys, it's such a cold effect. Let me show you how to do it now. No more chat, let's go. Okay, so jumping straight into After Effects, here I've got 2 clips from my latest music video, Saying 12 Game Over. Make sure you go check it out, link in description, yeah? So basically I've got 2 clips from that. Here's number 1, and here's number 2, right? So I'm going to use this one and zoom out through the window, and then slide the window down into this shot here. So step 1, you just need to rotor brush out the area which you're going to be transitioning into. In my case, I'm on the top clip because this is what's going to be final and I'm going to be masking out the window. So let me do that really quick and speed run it. Key tip as well, make sure that your preview is on full whenever you're doing this on an actual clip. Since I'm doing this in a tutorial, just for speed's sake, I'm doing it on half of the quality, but make sure it's on full when you're doing it normally. So I'm happy with the rotor brush. I'm not going to be using all of it, only this little certain segment here, so that's fine with me. Now before you press freeze, you need to do one thing. You need to duplicate it, and on the bottom one, make sure to enable invert foreground/background. Now double click on both and freeze both of them. So on the bottom layer I'm going to double click and then I'm going to freeze, and then I'm going to double click on the top one and freeze again. Try not to move the playhead whenever you're doing this, just to make sure the rotor brush stays the exact same whenever you're inverting it. One thing you need to make sure you do is name your layers. I have a very bad habit of not doing it, and then I usually get lost when I don't. So learn from my mistakes and just label your layers. So the bottom one is inverted, so I'm just going to label it inverted, and so on and so forth. Great, so now I've got 2 clips, one that's inverted and one that's not. If I get rid of the top layer, you can see the transition is slowly starting to take shape. I'm going to add a feather of 15 just to smoothen it out. The motion blur is going to smoothen it out regardless, but adding a bit of feathering just to make sure there's no like jagged edges or anything along them lines. It just makes it look better. So the next step, you need to highlight all of your clips and then enable motion blur on all of them, and then also enable the 3D layer. So basically enabling the 3D cube icon and the motion blur, just make sure that you can actually zoom through the layers. Instead, if you didn't actually select that, then this wouldn't even work in the first place. The key thing is here we're using camera animation, so go on to new and then go on to camera. You can right click anywhere along here and it will turn up. I don't usually change the default camera settings, but for now, for this tutorial, keep it on default. Press OK, let it go through. Now you've got your camera ready to go. You need to go into the drop down menu, drop down to transform, and then keyframe, point of interest and position. First thing you need to do is hide the non-inverted layer of the rotor brush, which is the window for me. So essentially, camera animations work off Z value distance. So I'll show you what Z value is now. You don't need to go into this view here, but if you do, to give a better idea, all you need to do is go down to the view which is set as active camera normally and go into custom view 1. This will basically show you exactly how it works from a 3D perspective. So now you're going to highlight all of your clips that are on the new layer, press P, and then simply drag it backwards. And you can see you're going to be zooming out, okay? If you wanted to zoom through something, instead, you'd rotor brush out your bottom layer and then send the other clip over here. So essentially, this camera here is going to be going through. But in our case, we're going to be going this way, outwards. So like I said, you don't need to go onto this layer, but I find it helpful. So you can go onto here and then set it to custom view 1 if you'd like to see the same view. But I'm going back to active camera now. Now I'm already on position here. I'm going to drag it until I don't see the window anymore. And I'm simply going to use the dolly tool, which is up here, center it in the middle and drag through just like this. Then I'm going to go a bit more forward on the playhead and scrub out until I basically cover the original distance. I'm not too fussed about it being the exact same values as before. I don't mind it being a bit zoomed in, but if you're very fussy about that, all you can do is when you first load in the active camera, go onto the transform, and when you keyframe point of interest and position, which we first did, instead of zooming in straight away like I did, you can just hold them same keyframes, copy and paste it at the end over here. But for me, I'm not too bothered, so I'm going to use this and also use the pan tool, which is right next to it, to scrub it to the side just until it roughly fits in the frame. Like I said, I'm not too bothered about it being perfect. But now you can see it's already taking shape. This is looking mental, but there's so many more things we need to do. I'm happy with how the camera animation is looking though. First thing I'm going to do is highlight all of my camera animation and drag it to the right because I want the first clip to play out slightly just before I zoom out. So maybe I'm going to keep it around here, just like that. Next thing you want to do is go into your bottom layer and add in the effect motion tile. Now this comes pre with After Effects, there's no plugins involved with this transition whatsoever. Now your output width and your output height are the ones that matter here. As long as they're above 200, that's all that matters, yeah? So you can see it's now being mirrored. Make sure you tick mirror edges, if not it will look pretty funny like this. We don't want that. So tick mirrored edges just like that, and you can see it's starting to take shape. Now we're going to do a couple more things. You're going to highlight all of your camera animation and press F9 to easy ease the motion. Now you're going to go into this little icon here, which is also known as the graph editor. This will allow you to play with speed ramping and speeds. You see this a lot used in, you know, those car edits you'll see on TikTok or Instagram. This is their forte. They always use the speed ramping and speed graphs if they use After Effects, which is majority of them. Now I'm going to highlight the right side because I want it to do a fast pull out and a slow smooth drag. So I'm going to highlight all of the right side to basically select both of these at the same time and drag to the left just like this. Now you can see we're not having as much issues with the motion tile, and essentially we have more time to get rid of this funny little effect down here. So we'll clean it up real soon. But just looking at this, I'm happy with that. I might even space it out a bit more. So I'm going to drag this just to the right slightly more, and there we go. That is the zoom done. There's a couple more things we need to do now though. So the zoom transition is sorted, but it's still missing something, which is the actual slide transition. This is what's going to basically clean everything up and, you know, complete it into the next scene, because you're not going to play out a scene with it being like this the whole time, are you? Maybe you are. I don't know what your situation is, but I'm for sure not. So all I'm going to do now is go and re-enable our first original roto brush layer. Then you can see when I'm playing through it, that it's already looking pretty cool, but now it's no longer smooth because it just goes from nothing to something. Hard bar there. But look, it's just not smooth at all. So we need to fix that now. First thing you're going to do is I'm going to avoid transitioning by going upwards because you can see the little curve there. Then I'd have to curve it with rotation and it just makes everything longer. Along with that, I don't have the opportunity to play with the graph the same way. So instead, I'm going to go from the side like this, or maybe this side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keyframe, position, and Z rotation. If you're wondering how to get to both, you press P for position, just like this, and then you press R, and then go and keyframe Z rotation. Keep these two keyframes very solid and don't touch them just yet. So leave them there, then go a bit more in front just like this, and then drag it to the side, just like that. But you can see we've got a problem. Whenever I try to slide it to the left, it's not going underneath the clip. So let me show you a quick fix for that. So let me highlight both and then simply drag the Z back a little bit more just so we make sure it's behind. But then you may notice that you still got an even bigger gap now. So all you need to do is press S on the scale and slightly scale it up by maybe 2 or 3%. Then highlight everything and move it just into position, and then you're done. It's as simple as that. So then you can move it, and now you need to add in your next keyframe. So I've moved my playhead a bit to the left and I'm going to drag it even more left now, and you can see that's working pretty well, but I don't like that little gap at the top, so I'm going to alter that now. And you can see I now have the slide done, but it's not smooth enough, so let me show you how to fix that now. And I don't like the way it's shot in right now, so I'm going to drag out the original keyframes a bit more, highlight every single one of them, and bear in mind I did highlight Z rotation just in case I needed to change it, but also I'd recommend doing it as well, because if you're not working with a similar situation to me here, you may have to bend it slightly just to make it fit, if that makes sense. No diggy though. Yeah, ignore that last one, yeah, but basically I've dragged it a bit more to the right now. I'm going to highlight all of them, go back into the graph editor, same way we've done the camera animation. I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to highlight the right side and then drag it to the left. Not as sharp this time, but still kind of sharp, if that makes sense. Bring it a bit closer. And guys, that is our sliding zoom transition done. Yo, we've come to the end of another tutorial. Hope you lot enjoyed it. More importantly, I hope you learned something. I'll catch you lot in the next video. Let's go. Love.